So yes, if I just give you a bit of an overview of what we're planning to cover. So as I say, Fiona and myself are going to give you a bit of an insight on the School Farm Visit Support Programme. So if you get involved, what to expect, and also the benefits of getting involved. Also going to touch on the application process, so what that looks like, and also touch on the eligibility criteria that we've got. And then, as I say, delighted that we're joined by Kelly, who's going to be able to give you her own perspective of having got involved in the pilot project that we've been running over the last few months. And then really it's over to you, and we've got a Q&A session. So any questions that you've got to ask, please feel free to ask those. So just a couple of housekeeping points. So the meeting's until 12 o'clock. We might finish a bit slightly earlier depending on the number of questions, but we aim to finish at 12. And the presentation, so what Fiona and myself were going through, is going to be recorded. So we know that a few people haven't been able to make today's session, so we want to make sure that the session's available to them. Just ask perhaps if you mute your microphones, it just means that then kind of cuts out any background noise. But obviously when we get onto the Q&A session, we can open up and have any questions. But if there's any questions that occur to you as we go through the presentations, there is a tab at the top of your screen which says Q&A, so please feel free to drop any questions into there. So I think that's all the kind of housekeeping points. So I'll get into the detail and start with a bit of background to the School Farm Visit Support Programme. So some of you might be familiar with our school education work, some of you might be less familiar with it, but really our focus is around educating the consumers of the future. And there's three areas that we focus on with our school education work. That includes where food comes from. So we want to ensure that young people are better informed about the field to fork messages, how their food is grown, reared and produced. And then healthy eating is another area that we focus on. We know that nutrition is a key driver for purchase and consumption, so we want to make sure that young people have that foundational knowledge when it comes to healthy eating. And then cooking, so cooking is such a key life skill, and we want to support young people to have the confidence to cook now and in the future. So they're the three themes that run throughout our whole programme of work, but this programme really focuses in on that where food comes from area. And in our education work, we also kind of recognise the power of experiential learning, which is quite a grandiose way of saying that really it's that opportunity to support young people to learn through experiencing themselves. So whether it's to see, smell, touch, that opportunity. And I think it's a really fantastic way of being able to bring that where food comes from to life, is being able to go to a real working farm. And really that's the backbone of this programme and what we're seeking to do. And we really want to support our levy payers and our farmers to be able to host school farm visits. So if you're new or got limited experience, this is where this programme really focuses in, and really hopefully will give you the tools, knowledge and confidence to be able to deliver really impactful, memorable visits that also are safe as well. And as I say, we're joined by Fiona from the LEAF team, and we work very closely with LEAF Education to deliver the programme. So that's a bit of background. And then I mentioned that Kelly took part in a pilot project that we've been running. So the programme that we're rolling out has been trialled and tested, and following an open application process similar to what we're going through at the moment, we supported 20 farmers on that pilot. And really the backbone of that programme, as it is with the rollout, is the CEVAS training, so Countryside Educational Accreditation Scheme training. And 9 of our farmers that we supported in the pilots did that training face to face, Kelly being one of them. You can spot her there in the bobble hat at the back in the photo on the left hand side, and on the right hand side you can see some of the 11 farmers that did the training online. And then just at the bottom some of the photos of the activities that we got involved in on the face to face, and I'm sure Kelly can tell you a bit more about that in a moment. So to give you an overview of the programme and what's on offer, really there's 5 main stages. So I mentioned the CEVAS training course, and really that, as I say, is the kind of the backbone of the programme. And Fiona will talk a bit more detail about what's included in that, but there's the opportunity to either do that face-to-face or online, so similar to what we ran in the pilot. And that will cover health and safety, it will cover how to reach out to schools, it will cover activities that you can do on farm and how you might link with the curriculum. And then following the support, the CEVAS training, there'll then be the requirement to complete a portfolio. So that's a written submission. And really that's taking the learning from the CEVAS course and applying it to your own unique position. And you'll get lots of support to be able to do that. But then that will be submitted for independent assessment. And then hopefully following that, you will then achieve CEVAS accreditation. So following the portfolio, the next stage is one-to-one support from education specialists, and that will be delivered by the LEAF education team, and they've got a team across the country to be able to support on that. And then the fourth and fifth stage is really then delivering the school farm visits, and really the intention and the hope is that you will want to have got the ambition to deliver lots of school farm visits in the future, but as part of this programme we'll ask that you deliver a minimum of 2. And I should mention that will be a travel bursary available for the schools that might come and visit you as part of that first and second school farm visit, because we know that the cost of transport can be a barrier sometimes, so we wanted to look to remove that barrier by providing a travel bursary. And then as you can see across the bottom, what's really important as we go through the programme is to get your feedback. So that's part of our evaluation, but also means that we can make adjustments and improve the programme as we go through. And then also to get involved in any wider AHDB communications, we obviously really want to be able to communicate back to the wider levy payer community about how their levy's been invested, but also it might be an opportunity to share your experience and perhaps encourage other people to get involved in school farm visits as well. So I'll hand over to Fiona because I think you're going to share a bit more about what's involved.
Lovely. Yes, thank you very much, Roz, and lovely to see so many faces on the call today. Just to kind of firstly introduce you to kind of some of the names of organisations and bits and pieces that you will hear from us. So I work for LEAF, so Linking Environment and Farming, within the Public Engagement and Education team. So we work like AHDB do with their education programme with young people, but also with the wider society, very much around that growing, eating and living sustainably. The reason that we're involved with CEVAS is that all of the education route, which is the route that is being offered through the AHDB funding, all of the trainers are LEAF education specialists. So that's why, we're working so closely with AHDB on this and a number of other projects as well. The other name that you might come across when talking about CEVAS is Access to Farms. This is a collection of agricultural organisations. We come together to support the kind of wider industry and farming community to host and support schools and other groups on farms. So Access to Farms is the organisation that runs CEVAS, and then LEAF delivers CEVAS, which is Countryside Education Visits Accreditation Scheme. So just hopefully clear as to who we are and why we're supporting this project as well. Thank you, Roz. So Roz has touched on it slightly, but just want to give you a little bit of an insight into what to expect for the CEVAS course. So as I said, all the education specialists from LEAF are trainers, and the reason that we're doing it is that we are hosting school visits all year round. We are also all ex-teachers and have worked in the industry a long time. So we bring lots of expertise and our own examples to the CEVAS course. We will be able to offer lots of ideas and suggestions while we're on the course. What's really nice about the CEVAS course, and I hope Kelly felt this as well, that you really have an opportunity to learn from the other farmers that are on the course as well, and really build that network within the course, but within the wider CEVAS alumni community as well, to learn from those hosts who have been offering school farm visits for a very long time as well. So it's a really good opportunity not only to do the course, but to join part of that wider network as well. In terms of the course content then, so the in-person course is over 3 days, and then the online course is over 6 weeks, and it's a 2-hour session every week. During that time, we'll cover some of the key top-level things that Roz has already touched on. So looking at health and safety, risk assessment, site preparation. I know that's something that can be quite worrying for people who haven't opened their farm before. So we go through that in lots of detail and support you to think about how that's going to work for your farm. Think about how we can communicate with schools and teachers and build those relationships with the education industry. Thinking about the actual activity ideas and what you're going to actually do on farm. thinking about how we can link that in with school curriculums as well, because that's where schools are looking for visits, is that they've got to link into the curriculum that they've got to deliver in school. And also thinking about how we can communicate with young people as well, and how we can adapt how we're delivering to those different age groups, whether it's early years, primary or secondary. What we hope you'll leave with is lots of theory that will really support you in your practice, but also lots of practical ideas as well. And just to be very clear then, so if you are successful and join the pilot, the CEVAS accreditation that you gain from the portfolio is to you, not to your farm. So you're the one that carries it, not the wider farm. You are obviously there, so that's why you gain the accreditation. Thank you, Roz. So Roz also touched on the fact that there's a portfolio element to this. So this is a level 2 equivalent accreditation, which is kind of GCSE equivalent. So there is an expectation of a written piece at the end of the CEVAS course. With the online course, it works a little bit differently, that you can kind of do it as you're going along. But please don't be concerned by this. We literally go through every stage of the portfolio with you within the course. We will look at examples. As you can see on the left, there are 6 examples there of how to complete it. So you will not leave the CEVAS course not knowing what you need to do for your portfolio. All of the elements of the CEVAS portfolio are practical. You will be using them and need that information if you're going to be running school farm visits anyway. So it's all very practical and all very applicable. You also, unlike at school, can send it to the trainers and ask for feedback and gain learnings from that as well. So it's not a case of putting it in and hoping for the best. We will very much support you to gain your accreditation and learn from us as well, and we learn from you too. The expectation is that this portfolio is completed before you start doing your visits as part of this pilot. So also just consider that in terms of your time commitments and kind of considering what that might look like depending on which course you apply for. Thank you, Roz. So the other really exciting part of this project, which we have loved working on this year and looking forward to working on next year as well, is the one-to-one support element of it. So again, this will be provided by the LEAF Education Specialists. So we have regional education specialists across England. I actually used to be an education specialist and I'm a CEVAS trainer, so have provided some of this support this year. So you'll have done your CEVAS course, you'll have been moderated and got your accreditation. We will then connect you up with your most regional education specialist. And then what we're looking at is the best support for you in order for you to be able to deliver really safe, engaging farm visits on your farm. So support may look slightly different for different farmers, depending on where your farm is, depending on what visits you're looking to provide, depending on what facilities you've already got. So there'll be a kind of conversation between yourself and the education specialist as to what that support is going to look like. It might look like us visiting your site and having a walk around and thinking about activity ideas, thinking about facilities that you maybe need to be thinking about for the future. It might look like joining you with the teacher for a pre-visit ahead of the schools actually visiting and planning that visit. It might also look like us joining to support you on the day of the visit as well. So as I said, it will very much be tailored to you and your situation to ensure that you are most successful as can be moving through this project. I think that's my last slide, Roz, is it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, thank you.
There we go.
So, thanks, Fiona. So just really to summarise in terms of the benefits of you getting involved. So it's that fully funded CEVAS training, and that's worth £360 plus VAT. And obviously, if you, as we've described, if you go through that and then submit your portfolio and that's accredited, then you'll become CEVAS accredited. Then also the fully funded one-to-one tailored support from the LEAF Education Specialist. And then also they'll be able to support you in building relationships with schools in your local area. And then also you'll get the benefit of access to a support network of new and existing host farmers. So as Fiona just described, you'll obviously get to meet others on that training course with you, so the CEVAS training course, to build your own network of new host farmers, but also get the opportunity to build network with existing host farmers. And that's because we're going to be running CEVAS alumni events in the start of the new calendar year. And that's something that we did earlier this year, where we brought together those that were already CEVAS accredited, and it was really fantastic in terms of sharing best practice and ideas, so that you'll be invited to attend those and have an opportunity to meet with people already active in this space. And then I mentioned about the travel bursary that will be available for schools to apply for, that come and visit you as part of those 2 school farm visits that you'll be delivering as part of the programme. And then just really to kind of say that this opportunity is open for 30 farmers, up to 30 farmers. So in England, there'd be levy payers from our beef, lamb or pork sectors. And then from a dairy perspective, levy payers in England or Wales. So we're not covering Scotland or cereals as part of this phase of the programme. So I thought I'd touch on the application process. To take part, you'll need to apply, and that application can be found online. So on our website, so ahdb.org.uk/school farm visits. And the deadline for applications is the 1st of August. So you've got a good couple of weeks to put your application in. And there's some questions that we'll be asking as part of that application process. So one of which will be that will ask you to apply for a specific CEVAS course. And there's 3 that are on offer. So 2 are face-to-face, one near the Leeds area, and that course will be 3 days. So it will be 2 back-to-back and then a follow-up day a week later. The second face-to-face will be in Marlborough, and similarly it'll be 3 days, so that block of 2, and then an additional follow-up session. And then online, so that'll be running over a period of 6 weeks, and it'll be 2 hours each week. So yeah, as I say, we'll ask you to apply for a specific course. You can apply for more than one, but yeah, you need to kind of specify as part of your application. Then we'll ask you to tell us why you want to host school farm visits, so to give us a feel about what's motivating you to get involved, and then also tell us about what you see as your own the benefits from your perspective of getting involved in the programme. And then also tell us about your farming enterprise. It'd be great to kind of explain what facilities you've got, how you might look to incorporate school farm visits in the farm. And then if there's wider support, and that's not a requirement, but if there's wider support, you can tell us about what wider support you might have in the business to help deliver school farm visits. And we know some farmers are more than confident delivering it on their own, and that's how they like to deliver school farm visits. Equally know that in some cases, there's multiple people might get involved. So opportunity to tell us about that as part of the application process. And then we'd ask you to confirm that you meet our eligibility criteria, and I'll come on to that in a moment. But just to flash up the dates for the CEVAS courses. So all this information is online on the website, so don't worry about having to scribble it all down. All that information is online. So the 2 face-to-face and the online course. So just to mention the eligibility criteria, so we ask that you confirm that you are a levy payer in England or Wales, so covering our beef, lamb, pork and or dairy sectors. And also that you're a farmer, because this is really about an opportunity of giving young people an opportunity to visit a working farm. So yes, so that it's your primary business. And then really this programme, as we mentioned, is really targeted at those that are new or got limited experience hosting school farm visits. So it's just kind of confirmation of that. Also that you're farm assured and that you will comply with relevant health and safety and biosecurity requirements. So, and as Fiona mentioned, that'll be covered in the CEVAS course in terms of the specifics. So don't worry about the specifics. It's really that you're committed to complying with that to ensure a safe visitor experience. And then just to touch on some of the facility requirements. So one is around hand washing, so important from a health and safety point of view. And we're not looking for you to have full kind of extensive hand washing facilities on your farmyard. It can be as simple as having access to running water that can be then rigged up for hand washing facilities. And it doesn't need to be hot water. It can be as simple as cold running water. It just needs to be running. And then access to a toilet for obvious reasons, and then a room or a space that's dry and animal free. And so that means that there's a space for, we've been talking about some of the bad weather that we've all been having. So, in the case of very bad weather, the space that the school children can go to, and then particularly if they're visiting over lunchtime, the space that they can have their lunch as well. And then also about committing to have in place or already having in place is the suitable insurance that covers such visits as well. So obviously very important from your perspective as well. And then really, as I mentioned before, this is designed for people who are looking to deliver farm visits and have an ambition to do that long into the future. So it'll be confirming your commitment, and also your commitment to complete all elements of the programme. So I mentioned those 5 steps in terms of the CEVAS training course, the written portfolio, that one-to-one support, and then also a minimum of 2 school farm visits. So that's the eligibility criteria. And now I'm going to close the slides because I'm going to there we are. I'm going to introduce, I know some of you have joined and haven't had a chance to meet Kelly yet. So Kelly is a dairy farmer from Cheshire. And Kelly, you took part, didn't you, in the pilot programme that we've been running over the last few months. And so I thought it'd be great for you to be able to kind of share your experience. And I know you had some experience, didn't you, a limited experience of hosting school farm visits before you got involved. But perhaps you can tell us about the CEVAS course, how that experience was for you, and really what the benefits were.
Yeah, so I was previously doing Farmers for Schools visits with NFU, so speaking to older children, which cured my fear of speaking to older children, because I think they're the ones that you think, oh my goodness, I don't want to speak to them, but they are actually, for me, the ones I get the most out of, because they take longer to break, but once you break them, you have the best conversations with them, in my opinion. I think Fiona probably agrees. We've had this conversation repeatedly over the CEVAS course.
Maybe not breaking them, but they warm up, don't they, Kelly?
Yeah, they warm up. But there's a switch that turns on, isn't there? And as soon as they realise that actually she's all right, they start having a bit of joking and banter and asking questions that you just are blown away with. When I did the CEVAS course, there was, how many of us was there? Was there 10?
9 of you.
Nine.
Yeah.
Nine
Well, yes,
of us.
yeah.
10 because Roz joined us as well. And it was a really lovely experience where we were able to really bond with each other. So we've got now a WhatsApp group where we share ideas. We've all really supported and encouraged each other throughout having our visits, like sending messages going, I've just had my first one, and everyone's really supportive and brilliant, or this worked or this didn't work, and that sort of thing. I think when I did my CEVAS, I mentioned to Fiona, Faye and Liz, who delivered, oh, we don't really have hand washing facilities, but I was thinking about using the pressure washer, and they all looked at me like I was bonkers. But actually it has been the thing that has worked the best. So just to put that out there, pressure washer, take the nozzle off, set it to 30 degrees. It is the best tool. You can line them up, wet the hands, pump the soap, wash it off and dry the hands, and it works really efficiently when you're washing hands. So you kind of have to think outside the box sometimes and think, oh, it's a bit mad, but it does work. I had my first visit, which was, I've just written them all down, 30 year 2s. They were a really lovely bunch from a local village school. They actually got in touch with me, so I didn't have to canvass for my visits because I'd already had cubs and beavers. And I had some lovely feedback from them. I don't know where I've put their letter. I had a card. This card from them to say thank you. And they all signed it. And then after that, I had, so that was supported by Katie Palace, who's in the Lancashire area, who's absolutely brilliant. And then after that, I phoned her in a blind panic going, oh my goodness, I've got 60 year 6s coming. Can you come and support me? And she would have come, absolutely, but she was busy. So I was thrown in at the deep end with 60 year 6s, but they were brilliant. And I've had some absolutely, this was all off them, the feedback, as well as obviously they have to fill out the feedback form as well. But I was reading it to Emily, who's hosting us today. So this was from a little boy called Miwash, who was very quiet on his own, and part of their visit, as well as covering some of the curriculum, they're an inner city school from Crewe, so city loosely. but a lot of them had never been out of Crewe. So this little boy is a Polish little boy, and he sent us a letter that says, "I want to thank you so much for letting me and my friends visit the best farm on earth and teaching us about cows. All of you are so kind, and I had the greatest time. I heard you did too. Maybe I could come again sometime and work there. I already missed the calf that sucked my thumb, thinking it was a milk bottle, and I still chuckle to myself every time I think of that moment. I can't remember its name. I hope all of you who work there have as much fun as me, and I wish you all a happy day." And that's why it's worth it for getting those letters. And that's just one of about 30 letters I've had from one school.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks for sharing that. So brilliant to get that feedback, and clearly, you know, you get a lot of value yourself out of hosting those visits.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I'm not going to lie to you and say it comes easy. Apparently it gets easier the more you do, but it is really stressful at first, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, are all of the drugs away, or all of the needles away? Has any member of staff left something lying around that they shouldn't have done? But you kind of realise when you do the CEVAS and when you start communicating with other people that have done it and doing the farm visits, we're all winging it. It's a bit like motherhood. We're all winging it, and we all get there in the end. We just have to learn as we go.
And Kelly, you mentioned the CEVAS course, and on the CEVAS course, one of the things you had to do was kind of present an activity to the group, wouldn't you, that you might deliver on farm. How did you find that experience, and how, you know, in terms of, because you said about the group and the network that you had, how was it kind of presenting ideas?
I put too much pressure on myself to do it, and I think I rejigged what I was planning to do about 4 times, and then in the end I delivered a poem by Pam Ayres called Dung Beetles, I think it was, and then spoke about how we would then turn that into an activity, looking at dung beetles, going dung beetle hunting. And that's the sort of thing that you think, oh, can I do that with children? Well, yeah, if you've got a pair of gloves and you've got hand washing facilities, get them out there, get them looking for dung beetles. I think we as farmers have this idea that the education system is so protective that you can't do these things, but you can do nearly anything you want with these children as long as it's safe.
And Kelly, Fiona was talking about the kind of portfolio that you have to do after the CEVAS course. How did you find pulling together your portfolio?
Again, I put too much pressure on myself at first and was trying to do it all by myself, then realised all the answers are in the book that they give you. So it's all there, and it's all really easy to find, and you can just rejig it to suit you. But yeah, I probably spent a good 2 hours trying to do it myself, stressing myself out, and then went, right, go back to basics, got the book out. I was like, oh, my goodness, it's all there.
Brilliant. And you mentioned the support from Katie. How did you find that kind of one-to-one support from the education specialist?
Absolutely invaluable. I was looking at doing my CEVAS anyway through Countryside Stewardship, because obviously it's funded through that. And then when I saw the pilot, I thought, do you know what, actually I think I'd really like the support, because I'd already met the LEAF education people, and can never remember the job title, and had a really good rapport. I'd met Faye, I think I'd met Fiona, Liz. I don't think I'd met Katie actually when it came to doing the one-to-one support, but every single one of the, I think they're all, no, one gentleman, every single one of the people that do that job brings something different. They all have different specialisms, whether that's high school or A level even. I think Liz is A level, or whether that's early years. So they give you so much confidence. They bring you so much information, but also they're willing to learn if that's not their specialism, if that makes sense. Or they will say, oh, actually, this age group is another colleague's specialism. Let me speak to them. And it's a really beautiful journey. It's never, we've got all the knowledge and we're telling you. It's all about, oh, I saw this somewhere, or have you tried this, or have you thought about that? So the support is brilliant and it fills you with confidence, but it doesn't make you think, I don't know anything. It makes you think, well, actually, I can share something as well.
Brilliant, that's great. And then so Kelly, what would you recommend to anyone who might be thinking of applying? What would you say to them?
do it. If education children or getting children out on farm fills your cup, do it. All of the visits I've had, I've picked out children that have been brilliant, really engaged, and I've said, oh, that child's a real shining star to their teacher. And every single one of the children I've picked out as being the shining star have been the ones in school that have been the most disruptive or the most reticent to learn. And I've always said it, but it's secured it even further in my psyche that children aren't naughty, they're just in the wrong place. So to get them out and get them on farm where they really shine, that's amazing.
Brilliant, thank you for that. Thank you ever so much for joining today's session. Really appreciate your time, and hopefully you found that useful, and hopefully we'll hear from you. And as I say, the application form is online, so go check that out. So the website address again, so it's ahdb.org.uk/school farm visits.